Last week we got an ego death. This week, we're gonna dive into being stuck in a polarity of anti versus pro. How can one evolve if stuck in a setting of fighting to change? Evolution is a simple process. It's that 1% is less than the 99% program you seem to be stuck in. The 9-to-5 grind versus the hustle to build, LLC style. The free before 10 versus the let me get this rest so I can get my meditation in. Applying sustained light to new ideals, wondering why the only thing that lights up is the failures. I call this Amanda. Welcome to the God Hour podcast. Before we get into this, listen to this week's mantra. Yeah. Welcome. I love you. You love us. Asha. At this point, you realize that you're on a different frequency. Your energy, the very energy rises into what seems an overwhelm. Embrace them. You're a God. Learn to reflect. You are the creator. Never run and never heal from. Rise into the chaos. Feed from it. Rise from the survival. Sacrifice the mundane pleasure. Go higher. Realize that you gave power to the burdens on your heart. Open yourself to these thoughts. Release those birds. Release those traumas. Learn them. Learn the resignation through the reflection. You're growing. That voice that was once silent, muffled under the trauma and the pain. It gets louder. It's getting louder. As you become more in tune, you start hearing that voice. It no longer sounds like. It no longer sounds like something unfamiliar. The same as that reflection of what you've seen falls away. At this point, you realize that you're on. You realize that at this point, you're getting yourself going. You're rising into your reset. You're rising into your reset. Getting your home in order. Getting your home in order. You start to realize just what that means. The things you clung to, the things that you clung to, no longer serve. The things that you clung on to no longer serve. They no longer hold the same value. As you learn your value, your worth, you realize that those were conduits of your trauma and your ego, giving you a sense of peace, to a superiority over something that you couldn't control. Let go. It's the time for you to rise. You're a God. You're the chaos. As you come in tune, you start to realize that nothing is stronger, wiser, better than this moment. Let it rise. You find your peace, find your balance. You start to speak life. Speak it in the psyche. You gotta speak that. Truth. Gotta treat. These moments are the only moments. Only today matters. Only this moment matters. There's no better day than to get yourself in tune. Tune in the soul. Rise. Nothing beyond this moment matters. Only every day from within. Can you see what is the most valuable? You love you. We love you. We are us. We are God. Asha. Grand Rise, guys and goddesses. Sometimes we have to let that be the ride. Grand Rise, guys and goddesses. Chaos Gang, Soul Tribe. Chaos shatters. Black. Magic matters. Grand Rise, guys and goddesses. Titans, Brujas, Adepts, Initiates. Wherever you at, always gonna be the best at it. And the way we're gonna be the best at it is, we gotta understand that, where are we at? What really matters? Last week we got into ego death and putting that out there. Now we gotta get into antimatter. If we're stuck in between these processes of being anti this to be pro this, being stuck within these polarities, how can you truly use your energy and put it into a true focus? How can you take that energy and put it into a true focus if we're locked into a polarity based upon a program that we're trying to get out of? Everything from oppression, white supremacy, all of these things, all of these narratives are not our narrative. All of the narratives are not your narrative when it comes to the end of the day. What are you doing making that your job? Making that your purpose? If that's you, that's your level, that's what you came down here to do. But I'm speaking to the ones that are going to do more, wanting to do more. Understanding that first, you have to work on yourself. You gotta put yourself in a position before you can make the position. That's what's seen all over the place. Putting yourself in position, and then when you're in true position to put others in position, that natural position comes into play. Position. Power. Welcome to the God Hour. Season 2, episode 21. Blackjack, baby, we at the table. The house always wins. Welcome to the God Hour. I'm Papa Lucy, your master of ceremonies. Let's get into this. Hashay. Ha ha. Welcome once again. It's your master of ceremonies, Papa Lucy, Gotical Alchemist, LLC.com. The entity. We're building over here. We're living over here. And I was thinking about this after, I've been thinking about this ever since I did last week's lecture. And I've been in that zone ever since, like just thinking about an interesting question that was asked and posed to me. It was like, what is so... And then it made me come up with like, yo, that's antimatter. Antimatter is anything that basically is... It doesn't matter. It's not of true substance. And you put light to it or you put energy to it, it gives it a charge and then it gives it shape. Anything that's not truly there, like basically anything that you're creating, is basically the step between thought form and the physical conduit that comes into that space. And we getting very deep into that. I'm shaking to the beat, right? I'm moving to the beat. I'm moving to that. You got got a nice little mix. I got a nice little mix put together for today to keep us in that flow. But yeah. We get stuck in energy. We get stuck in between polarities. I was watching, after I did my lecture, I watched Brother Fanic's lecture, Black Magic Matters, because Black Magic Matters. I was watching that. I wanted to watch it after I did my lecture. And I usually always do that to reinforce myself. It's like, I look at a Brother Panic lecture because I studied, remember that aspect of studying all the following none. I'll look at a lecture, I'll read quotes, I'll read books. And now I'm at an aspect of time where I'm still studying. There's still so much I haven't studied. But it's like, it's simply that gnosis of that knowing. You already know. You know what flow, you know what space you're in, you know what lane you're in. So you ain't got to worry about what anybody else is doing. So when I listen to Black Magic Matters, like that's the energy to tap into. Like that's a marker to tap into that energy. But yeah, getting stuck inside those polarities. You want to be anti this, so you're pro this. You need the anti to be the pro. You need this over here to be that. You need this to be this. You need this to make this happen. You need that to be over there to make this happen. We just get stuck in these spaces that are not conducive to us growing. And it's very big on energy. Like, birds of a feather flock together. And when I think about birds of a feather flock together, like how like that's that mix. We doing all right.
But I think about birds of a feather flock together. And I remember I explained that to somebody one time. And I was like, it's not necessarily you're doing the same thing or the same things, but the energy, the initial spark or thought form that created that space for you to flock to that group or be in that grouping is why you're flocking into that group. That's how those connections are made, positive and negative, what serves you and what doesn't serve you. So something as simple as, I'd rather be around 100. I'd rather be around a group of individuals, a group of entities, a group of like-minded gods that are all in the study of following on mentality and building, rather than be around a group of 5 millionaires that are miserable. I would rather be around a group of guys that are indulging in the knowledge, gods and goddesses that are indulging into knowledge, indulging into stimulating that thought, indulging into challenging humanity to eradicate it, challenging their ego to eradicate it, to bring it back to a space where they can learn from it, rather than be around 5 miserable millionaires that have, but don't get me wrong, I'm not choosing either or. It's like, but if I had to be within a space, why would I want to be around misery? Why would I want to be around a certain algorithm that, though it's maintaining something on a mundane, basic human level, it's not truly doing what it's supposed to do? That's what I mean by that. That's what we mean about when you're making these conscious decisions inside yourself in your awareness of where you're at, your awareness in what you're doing, your awareness of what you're about. That's the aspect of talking into that antimatter. Every time you go around certain areas, you're around certain spaces, you're around certain people, and they're doing the same thing. Why are you going around those people? You feel me? Like, I always use an example. I always use myself as an example because I'm the example that I learn from the most. That's like if my whole family, they Christian. They pretty much Christians, good old Christians, Protestant, Baptist, whatever, Zion, like all that. They've been doing that for their entire life. All of them think that, well, eventually they're gonna think I'm the problem. No matter what I say, no matter what I do, no matter how many accolades I would put up on the board, you feel me? How many points I put up on the board and bettering myself and breaking, even in an unconscious state, in an unaware of my true purpose and mindset, I was putting numbers on the boards. Like, I remember I was the employee of the month, manager of the year, manager of this, and I carried those accolades, and I was the youngest in doing this, and I was the one that didn't have kids, and I'm the oldest of my mother's 5, and I have no children between me and my little sister. And I'm the one, a lot of things, I broke curses unconsciously. I broke a lot of thought forms and a lot of things unconsciously. So when I go forward in the space that I'm in, that's not one of the things that's in my space. That's not one of the things that's in my thought process. That's one of the things that are in my ideal. So when you think about something like that, you're like, oh, wow, that now makes sense. But it's like, okay, if I'm in a mindset around certain individuals and they're doing a certain thing or they're acting a certain way, being of a certain manner or a certain thought process, and they're not really doing anything, then why am I around them? But this thought process that we get stuck in is that 1% within that space, that human thought is the 1% that keeps you bounded. That 1% is the human thought that you cannot seem to get away from. People want to talk about in the statistics that the death rate is higher in white people than black people, but they killing us at a faster rate. So of course the numbers is skewed, and all of these we put all these formulas out here, all these numbers, all these statistics. But the main problem that we need to focus on is the equation we got coming down here. What is your problem? What are your problems? What are your issues? What are your issues and problems tied to? I looked at a post the other day. Someone said that it was funny. They said another day they didn't use algebra. And I knew they were being funny. But every day you actually use algebra without even thinking about it. You use algebra unconsciously. X for Y, what is Z? If I put the value of X is Black Lives Matter protests, then what is Y? If the value of X plus Y equals Black Lives Matters, then what is Y? Why is it a big thing? And I remember Panic broke that down, was like, it's basically keeping you in that normal mentality, making it just another black thing. And then I said it the other week in a lecture. Yeah, I said it last week in a lecture. I was like, maybe you're upset at blackface because you're not ready to stop playing blackface yourself. We have to get, these are conversations that we need to start having with ourselves. These are conversations that I've had with myself plenty of times. And then I brought myself to the conclusion and I moved forward with it. And I can tell that I'm on point and I'm on key with it because all the signs point to it. Instead of looking for the sign, it kills me every single day. And it's not, this is a generalized topic, but like people that say, I got this symbol, I got this sign, my numbers is equaling up, my numbers are popping up everywhere, 444s and 1111s and 464s and 1234s. But they looking on the surface. People look for these signs to fix something on the surface. People look for signs to fix things on the surface and not looking at the eternal factors of why things need to play out the way they need to play out. Chaos shatters. Black magic matters. If you've been putting in your work since you started in your conquest and going forward, then you have nothing to really worry about. Never let anything stop your works. Never let anything take you off your square, stop your works. It's easier. People will say, that's easier said than done, Papa. That's easier said than done, Lucy. Like, nah, it really isn't. It's based upon your mentality. I made a post the other day. I was like, I'm doing my 30-day fast because like after so much energy that I've circulated and cycled through, it's time for me. I'm going to that next level in myself. I can feel myself shifting and I want to clean myself up. And I'm not using the fast and I'm breaking this down. I'm not using the fast in the aspect of becoming more healthy because that's a given. This is what we need to start actually taking ourselves into and going deeper into things rather than looking at it on the surface. Stating the obvious things. Like in this realm, time is one of the constraints in this realm. So to say you ran out of time kind of becomes asinine. To say you didn't have enough money becomes asinine. Some of these things become asinine in the rhythm because if you're in the higher rhythm working on yourself, then that's the last thing that you that's the thing you don't have to worry about because that's matriculates naturally. Take that value of something like anytime, and this is one of the biggest things that I did. I remember when I was younger. I was like the young guy running around. I was in that king mindset running around. And I used to think to myself, like, I used to think to myself a lot of the times, I'd be like, yo, I need to do this, or I need to do that, or I need to do this. Or I need to put myself into this. I need to put myself in this space or in this place to be there. And I remember being around certain individuals, and I would give them advice, and I would say things to them, and they would sometimes listen. They would say it was deep, but they wouldn't take it as what it was. Or it would become bar talk. It would become sitting around smoking talk. It would become talk that never left the water cooler. It became talk that never left the smoking session. It would become talk that never left work. It became talk that never left for something. And I started realizing, I was like, I'm giving out this beneficial key information. Why aren't they taking it? And then I started thinking to myself, for them to get that conversation, all it took was me paying attention. I know the worth of what I'm saying, but am I applying it? Am I truly applying what I'm saying? And when I apply what I'm saying, what traumas and triggers pop up on my way as I'm cultivating my purpose to my passion? As I'm cultivating my purposes that are leading to my passions. What am I working through? And then that gave me a different mind frame in thinking of how I was dealing with people. I was dealing with people based upon the initial bond. So if I said something that was outside of the fundamental way that we bonded together, or coming under that one guise, under that one thought process, the negative aspects of unity, oppression and whatever it may be, oppression and white supremacy and all these aspects, agendas and conspiracy theories and all these processes, and I stepped out of that space using the algorithm and putting together that formula and stepping out of it, they got to follow suit. But if I don't give them room to follow suit, then how they going to learn? That's one of the biggest things. Like, we tend to get stuck in hanging around and being around certain individuals based upon something that we have not dealt with. How was your bond? How was your bond? How was your initial bond with your best friend, your homegirl, even family members? I remember, like, even family members, that energy is so tightly wound within them because they sustained in that space for even longer than you. You gotta think about it. Think about it like this. If you were born in 84, but you were born in the 80s, let's say from 83 to 83 to 89. Let's say 83 to 89. Think about the programming and the things that your parents went through under the thought process of their parents. Think about those aspects right there. And then think about you coming from under that banner, and what they went through, they put into you, so they parented a new energy and they put you into that energy. And now you step forward out of that energy, step into consciousness. You step into that consciousness, you step into that arena. But all you have is the examples of what they left. How would that turn out for you? If you're still stuck within certain mentalities and mindsets, traditionalism, moralism, trying to fight for your people, and all those aspects, it becomes a very cold ass fucking thought that you really got to sit there and look at yourself and be like, you know what? This may not be what I need to be doing. It's not working. That's the 1%. That's that 1% against 99% mentality. We have to go into this 1% mentality, because that 1% is the human thought that has you locked down. That 1%, everybody throws it out. The 1% stopping the other 5% from getting the other 99% to rise above. The 1% don't want the 5% to wake up the other 99%. But in reality, you're the 1%. you've become the elite. Just in accepting your godhood and accepting your consciousness and coming into that wave by itself, you have accepted that you are the 1%. You're the new 1%. In that same matter, you are the 1%. Because your thoughts usher in a change. But see, if you're stuck inside of the polarity of anti this, pro this, and this to that nature, that to that nature, then what are you doing on both sides? Of course you're gonna sit there and now you're battling the other 1%. You're battling yourself. You're trying to sustain and build something inside of a space that is not meant for it to be built in. This space is inherently flawed. All the Nazi texts say that. This space is inherently flawed. No matter how pretty you make your front yard, no matter how pretty you make the yard, no matter how pretty your car is, I don't know how pretty anything that you have is, remember that you're in a prison. Remember this is the prison. You came down here to serve out your sentence, go through the reformation, find yourself, tap into, and these are the aspects that also, and we're going to get into that next when we're talking about soul tribes. Those are the aspects that get you locked into find your soul tribe. But you can't be around your soul tribe if you're around a bunch of people, if you're around a bunch of entities and energies that are not on that frequency of you. This is the aspect when we're talking about when you walk forward by yourself, and then everybody naturally is going to fall into order as they need to fall into order. Over the last couple of months, just over the last couple of months alone, this beginning from the beginning of this year, like the beginning of 2020, hindsight, new vision, which is actually 2012, but that's a whole nother story. I remember I met my brother, put Baby on the beat. I remember I met my man, Kev Seymour. I've met my man's Wally G. I've met my, the goddess Rebel. I've met these individuals all they're all over the place, but through Facebook, linked up on Facebook based upon consciousness. And all of our mindsets are in the same place. Those are the ones that I've have had interactions with. I've met plenty, my Facebook page and my IG and my Twitter. My pages have long ago washed out, but didn't need to be there, and naturally would replace what needed to be there. But that's what I'm talking about. You got to put yourself in this mindset, this place, this thought process, this mind frame, but you got to go there first. You have to allow yourself to go there. You got to allow yourself to ask those questions, to grind, to find out. Because if you're not, all you're going to be doing is leaving yourself stuck in the same thought process as before. You're always going to be around individuals that are doing the same shit. And then you're going to start seeing the conflicts that you need to deal with within them. I'll give you a thought. If I sat here right now and matter of fact, we're gonna make a nice example. Take somebody that's coming into their awareness. Doesn't matter if I was coming to my awareness, but I was still bonded to my family based upon traumas, because that's what it was, traumas. And I still had individuals around me that were based upon traumas. And I had a brother over here that's not really doing what's conducive to him growing. And I got my family members over here. They're stuck within the conflict back and forth of trying to make it. If my mindset is scared to step forward to deal with certain things, that if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and my brother is a reflection of me not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or he's not doing what he need to be doing to stand on his square, then the reason I'm connected to him is because we're both two individuals that have a nice conversation, but we haven't sparked anything in the true thought of taking it and going forward with it. And on the other hand, my family, they stuck within conflicts and baby mother, baby father drama with my sisters and brothers or whatever it may be. And I'm still connected to them, going around them, trying to help them solve their problems or have a conversation with them or listen to. I'm not even really helping them. I'm just listening to them. I sprinkle a little bit of information down and then I walk away. I sprinkle enough, a little bit of feel good down and I walk away on both ends. But in this middle, I'm absorbing that same energy. You see, like you stuck in that polarity. So you're feeding from that energy, you're feeding from that space. So it doesn't matter what you go around that's of a positive nature, of a higher nature. By the time I come back to the crib, by the time I'm in my house, I don't feel in place. I don't feel like I belong here. I feel like I'm cluttered. I feel like I'm claustrophobic. The reason I feel like I'm claustrophobic inside my own space is mainly because I'm not in the right space. I'm not in the right mindset. I'm not in the right mindset. I'm not doing my work. I'm running away from an issue. I'm hoping things work themselves out. I'm waiting for this moment right here. I'm just working it to work. I'm just doing my day-to-day things, but I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing my shadow work. I'm not studying. I'm not reading. I'm not learning anything. I'm not charging myself. And if you're just coming into this level, and even in the repeat of going through the levels, what happens every time that you go forward? Think about what happens every time you go forward. You got a new energy, you got a new attitude, you got a new mindset, you got a new outlook, you seeing things differently, you start to envision shit. Think about that. Now think about this thought process. You in that mindset, you're awakened, you feel enlightened, you feel empowered. You done went and grabbed your aunt, you done went and got some crystals, you done started burning, setting an altar up, you done started doing all this shit. But all that energy that you're invoking, you taking back into the same old spaces. You taking that same energy into the same spaces where you just came from. I remember Bobby Hemmett always broke down, don't you get tired? Like, it comes to a point in time where you really got to be by yourself. Just because you cannot stand the state that people are in, but you can't do anything about it because it's based upon mentality. It's based upon mentality. It doesn't matter what you do, what you say, based on to tell people. If they're not within the space of the mentality, they haven't changed that program, they haven't accepted that protocol, that new program. That old program that's within their subconscious that has been based upon struggle is what they're going to be stuck to. The longevity of trauma takes equal, every reaction creates an equal or greater reaction. So every trauma that's not dealt with causes an equal or greater trauma. That's a generational curse. Generational curse could have started this small, started as big as a mustard seed. But since it was never taken care of, that weed, because it became a weed basically, it wasn't supposed to be in that space, that weed, that algorithm, that quotient was carried on and on and on and on and on within all the problems. It was added to all the other problems. So it got added to this problem, and this problem added to that, and this problem added to that. That's the trigger. That one quotient, that 1%, that human thought, that 1%, that human thought, that original sin or that original thing based upon a lack of knowledge or a lack of understanding is the quotient that you got to tap into. That 1%, that little 1%, that one piece, that's the quotient. That's the common denominator in all the problems. That's the common denominator in all the problems that lined up in that path. So what do you think is happening every time you go forward and you say something or do something or want to act a certain way or want to move a certain way? You still stuck within the same space. Toxicity. You stuck within the toxicity. You stuck within the problem. You stuck within the issue. You stuck within whatever it may be, and you wondering what the fuck's going on with you and why your life ain't going right, and my mom ain't happy, and my dad wasn't there, and all these things. Not getting down to the bottom of the problem. Instead, you want to run away from it. And it's a very toxic trait based upon trauma bonding. Like, if the bonds that I have with people, I don't care who the person is. Love interest, best friend for however many years, family member, of course, since birth. I don't care who that person is. Toxic is toxic. I cannot be around that toxicity while I'm healing. I cannot allow the toxicity into my life while I'm healing. I can't allow the toxicities into my life. I can't allow these issues into my life while I'm healing. It doesn't sync up. Yeah, we getting straight into this. It was like this was gonna be the intro, but I was like, nah, let's get straight into it. But yeah, stay tuned for more, because we don't get deeper into this. Antimatter. Welcome to the God Hour. All right, we back. Yeah. But it just goes to this thought process. We still build on the antimatter. Like, does it really matter that what we've gotten used to what we fight for a lot of the times is based upon survival. The things that we fight for, the things that we are used to doing, we used to fucking with, are really only based upon survival. A lot of the things that we fuck with, a lot of things that we go through, I'm adjusting my microphone. A lot of the things that we fuck with, a lot of things that we deal with, we go through, it's based upon survival. It's based upon one or two little algorithms that quotients and factors that we had in our lives, and then we stay on to them. That's similar to, I've said that before. I said that a lot, actually. I tell like a lot of, like, when I'm doing clients and consultations. What are you when you are no longer what it was based upon the trauma? What are you when you defeat the trauma, the triggers to your trauma? You acknowledge the trigger, you initiate the healing, and you heal yourself. And then someone asked me a few weeks ago, but I'm healed, but I keep attracting damaged people. I'm healed, but I keep attracting the same, my money grubbing aunt, my trifling ass baby mother, my trifling baby mother that ran away with my trifling ass best friend, and I keep attracting people that are just like them. Why do I keep attracting these same people, even though I've let it go? It's a difference between healing and letting go. There's a big difference between healing and letting go. You can let go of a bunch of shit, but until you can let go of everything, but until you've learned from the aspects of until you learn to let go from what the hell it was in the original first place, you really didn't do anything. If you don't heal the ground, you don't heal or basically cultivate new soil in that space, then what are you truly doing with that space other than it's only going to bear the same fruit? It doesn't matter what seeds you drop into that ground has been cultivated for a certain crop. That ground has been cultivated for a certain set of plants, sproutlings and things that happen. You feel me? So it doesn't matter what you do. You can have, it's like people really get that stuck. Like, you can do all of the meditation. You can do all of the meditation. You can do all of the yoga. You can get plants and clean food, drink clean water, wash your ass, take all the spiritual baths that you want. But if you're doing these things, you keep going around the same areas while you're in a healing process. Because remember, all these things are aspects of healing and disciplines. If you're going back to the same areas, into the same environments that are either directly or indirectly causes based upon your trauma or the original trauma that you're healing from, you're an open wound. It's like me taking my hand, it's like me getting cut on my hand and then picking up a lemon and then wonder how the fuck I got my finger burned. Why that shit hurt? The scar is still present. Just because I acknowledge the scar is there, if I don't do the necessary work to heal my scars, the scar is still there. The scar is still present. So what healing can you do if you're stuck in a space where the scar is still present? You keep going against the same issues, going against the same things, handling the same exact ways. That's not evolution. That's just trying to change a narrative. You trying to change a narrative that ain't even yours. And that's what I meant by that blackface shit. It's like, if you acknowledge you're a God, just think about this. If you acknowledge that you are a God, you acknowledge that you are the universe. You acknowledge that you are a multi-dimensional being of light. You admit that this is simply your avatar. You admit all these things. If your mindset is in white people are still supreme, you're defeating the process. I still don't have enough money in an economy, you're defeating the fucking process. You went from understanding that money was a creation down here based on the physical, on a devolved sense. You got to understand all this shit's down here on a devolved sense. It's on a slower rate so you can study it. Go back and watch Wanted. Go back and watch one movie I want everybody to go fucking watch if you have not seen it, is How to Buy a Negro. How to Sell to a Negro. It was an actual tape or film that they showed people that worked in department stores and people that were in commerce, in retail, commerce, selling shit. How to sell to a Negro. They sell to you based on a lack of self-image. Things connect to you based on a lack of self. It's always going to go back to knowledge of self. So if you have a lack of a self-image in yourself and you're not seeing yourself as you need to see yourself, why? You go down to the physical, mundane things in order to gain a feeling. I tell everybody that I fuck with, I fucks with energy. Like, the energy work that I do and have studied, I do not fuck with bad energy. I don't care who the fuck you are. I will not fuck with your energy if your energy is not right, I won't fuck with you. You feel me? I will not spend my time dealing with you and interacting with you other than ways to show you, not unless you open to learn how to shift your energy. Charge yourself, put yourself in the right space. And even that now comes at an investment, depending on what role you play in my life. If you're not in the right space mentally, and I'm naturally a mental person, how can I have a conversation with you on a mental level? If your mindset's not right in this, if you're not able to comprehend, you're stuck within a confine of religion or binding, the fundamentals of binding, and that's what you carry into spirituality in your thought process, and it's still under that fundamental of the religious bindings, and you try to come forward to have a conversation with me, nigga, I'm way over there on the other end of the fucking universe somewhere. I'm way on the other end of the galaxy somewhere with my shit most times. I'm way over there. So you can't come to this frequency, come to this level talking about certain things. I'm going to look at you, but I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue with anyone. I'm going to state my points, state the facts, State the truth, state my truth, state the points, and go on about my business. When you're ready to listen, when you're ready to build upon that, then we can build. Other than that, your energy's off to me. The what you're doing, and you're doing it you're not doing it for necessarily the wrong reasons, but you're not doing it for reasons that are serving me. The reason that you want something, the reason that you're doing something, the reason that you're moving in a certain space is not conducive to how my energy needs to be served. I love me more than I love myself. I remember that was in that Ye album when Kanye dropped that one album. I love me more than I love me. I love you, but I love me more than I love you. I forgot how he said it. I think it was I love me more than you. In the aspect, he was breaking down, said, I love me more. I love myself more than I love you. That's the mindset you got to carry, because in reflection, you want someone to love themselves more than they love you. Because since that's already within them, that's instilled in them to truly love themselves and heal themselves and keep themselves in a certain evolutionary rate. If you're in that same mindset, when you guys come together, that naturally cycles. It's a mindset. The mindset naturally intertwines. That's the tantra. That's the recharge. But if I'm around individuals around me, if I'm around entities around me, places around me that do not charge me, they simply drain me every time I'm around them, then I have to find a reason to keep going back to that space. It's like, it's an unconscious addiction. The reasons that they're in the space that they're in, you try to find that same reason in yourself to stay around there and go over there. The reason that they're in the same space that they're in, not changing, not doing anything, not getting better, not being stronger, not being anything of true value or true worth to that aspect, they're doing the same exact shit over and over and over again, getting the same exact results. What are you doing within that space, within changing the result? How can you change the result if you're in the same space they in? There's things that you haven't dealt with. There's things that you don't want to talk about. There's things that you don't want to face. How do you expect them to face things if you're not facing the thing? That's how you connect to them. That's the birds of the feather flock together mindset. You get stuck dealing with people based on the same algorithm, the same quotients, the same common denominators. They don't want to deal with their life in the way, aspects where they need to deal with it at. You don't want to deal with your life in the aspects the way you need to deal with it. And then you become subservient to them staying in that aspect, because if they change, now you don't change. And this is all about that 1% versus the 99%. I'm very proud to be part of the 1%. Very proud to be part of the 1%. I'd rather be part of that 1% than be part of that 99%. I'd rather be the lonely owl in the dark than a bunch of moths around a flame. Because I know if I'm in the dark and I'm the owl in the dark and my eyes can see all that I need to see, turn all the way around, got 360, or is it 180? I think I'll throw their head around like 360 or 360 degrees or 180 degrees. They turn their head all the way around. I keep my head on a whole swivel and make sure I'm good on all ends. I can't do that in a crowd of I can't do that in a crowd of malls around a flame. They all trying to get to the flame. Why try to get to the flame when I can create the flame? That's the aspect of tapping into your high energy. That's where that cleanse and reset is so fucking important. Setting that standard, setting those boundaries, setting your trajectory, setting your standard at a height that even when you set off and take off, and you may not get to a certain destination, you still open to that learning aspect. You didn't get to where you wanted to get. See, you're still cultivating your purpose. When you land, you still land on your standard. When you land on your standard. That's a major key. I have a standard for myself that is bar none higher than anybody's. And it's based upon me loving myself more. I love everybody conditionally. It's an unconditional love and understanding, but it's always coming from a space that I love myself more. Since I love myself more, and I know what I'm willing to do for myself, and I know what I'm willing to stand in and stand in my truth and standing on my square, whenever somebody's having an issue with me having that compassion, I'm going to tell them exactly what the fuck they need to hear. I'm not going to tell them what they want to hear. I'm not going to tell them what they need to hear. I'm going to speak to their soul. And to speak to their soul, I know I got to burn, so I got to cut through a lot of shit. I always remember people like, yo, man, you always shooting at people. You always like going hard. Like every time you saying shit, like you be saying some truthful shit, but can't you say it a little nicer? You want me to say what I'm saying normally? You want me to change my tone of voice? Nah, man, be easy on them. No. One thing I carry from into my going through my processes of my shadow work was when around my pops was hard on me. You feel me? My pops, my uncle, my father, like these individuals, the males that were in my life, the masculine aspects of energy that were in my life, whether it was on a toxic, unhealed method or in a healed state, they were hard on me either way. So one of those many lessons that I take from that space is to go hard or to be hard at every fucking point in time. But I've learned how to curve the way that shot is done. It still does the same amount of damage. I just put a little spin on it. It's still gonna hit you. It's still gonna pierce. But I learned to use the silencer. I learned to use I learned how to use a higher caliber bullet. So when it hits, it's gonna do the damage it need to do to your ego. And it's gonna do that shit much, much faster. Instead of me taking a P-22 and shooting you and it rattle around and then play with your ego, dance with your ego, trying to knock your ego straight out the park every single time. Because that's what it was always done to me. One thing that was always done to me, I remember and I thought about it, was like, my ego was always kept in check. So when it came to me coming into this, my consciousness, my awakening, going through my alignments, it was easier to keep my ego in check based on what the hell I was learning. Because my ego was already kept in check externally. Whether it was from an unhealthy standpoint or a healthy standpoint, it always served the purpose to keep my ego in check. And now I look through my natal chart and I'm like, oh damn, it makes sense. Because if I was untrained, if I wasn't groomed in that fashion, I couldn't do what I do. If I wasn't groomed in a certain fashion, I wouldn't do what I do. And that's all about going through that table of contents. Your shadow self. That shadow self for yourself that always like my shadow self was always in like a emotional torment and always upset, never speaking up. My shadow self never spoke up. So since my shadow self never spoke up based upon ego, when I first came into consciousness, for me, it was a lot different. Because I came under the compassion since the masculine was hard. The feminine aspects of my life, my mother, my aunts, they were in a softer tense. So I had a balance. Whether it was unhealthy or not, whether it was an unhealthy based upon trauma or not, it was in a balance. That's why I never had to go to. That's why when I went to the extreme, now when I go to the extreme, it's based upon the perfect balance. It was easier for me to find balance than somebody that had the 2-parent household and the list of issues that they had going on. We got to get out of this mindset. We got to get out of this thought process based on, but we're all, no. You could have had similar instances happen to you, but that doesn't mean you're going to turn out like me. Because I had many people that had similar instances to me. They had all of the opportunities that I did. They had the opportunities that I had. They had even more opportunities that I had. And the position that they're in is nowhere near a position that I'm in, and I can say that humbly. I had people around me that had more freedoms in an aspect, but their freedom came at a price of their freedom came at a price of imbalance. And that's what we suffer from now. That's what I see us suffering from now is our freedom is coming from a sense of imbalance, so we have a sense of entitlement based on the trauma. Instead of us dealing with our own traumas, we expect someone else to deal with ours. Instead of dealing with the backlash of the trauma ourselves in an aspect of learning from it, that's what gives us that false sense of entitlement. So you get stuck within the polarity of others that have a sense of entitlement based on not going through what you went through. They didn't have to go through what you went through, so they have a sense of entitlement. You went through what you went through. Now you have a sense of entitlement. Both of y'all have a sense of entitlement. So in order to understand it, you gotta understand why they have a sense of entitlement. You have to admit that you gave them their sense of entitlement. Everybody wants to talk about the Moors. That's the sense of entitlement. Just use that thought process. That's that sense of entitlement that they were given. They were taught we taught them how to wash their ass and clean and wash their ass and cook food and use soap and all this shit. Okay. So they learned those things. You parented them into what they are. You parented that thought form. You're going to be stuck in that polarity because they can't admit that you're their parents and you can't admit that you're theirs. And that goes into the aspect that you still running this shit. That's a whole nother that y'all ain't ready for. And you can just tell based on the climate, motherfuckers are not really ready to have that conversation. But I'm here to put that thought out there. So when you think about this thought process, take this thought right here. If my mindset is within, I'm gonna use this blackface shit. You are upset with blackface. You're upset with Black Lives Matter. You're upset with blackface. What if, and this is a thought, what if they do the blackface and they do the stereotypical shit about you being blackface, or they appropriate the things that of nigga creation just so you say claim to them? Nah, you can't take that. We invented that. We did this. You always trying to take our shit. You stuck in a polarity. Every time that it doesn't matter. Remember, it does not matter. The occultist understands, as that occult mindset understands that I'm looking for the contradiction. Every time I'm doing something that I need to be doing, why does this pop up? When I'm on the right fucking track, why is this shit popping up? I'm looking at the contradiction as in, what is that trying to trigger? What is that triggering with inside me? When I see that over there, why is that triggering me? It doesn't matter if it makes you happy, sad, whatever it may be. It's the fact that you paid attention to it. You was over there doing your thing, making your moves, doing what you needed to do, but you had to look over here. It's like looking at a car wreck when you're riding down the street. You walking down the street, you driving down the street or whatever, you driving however you getting down the street, and you see a car accident. And then 9 times out of 10, when you see one car accident, within that lineup, if it was a real bad car accident, there's 2 or 3 more car accidents within that path. Why is that? Because the first person went paying attention, they were on their phone, and then ran in the back of somebody else's car. The other person that got in the other accident was looking over at the other person while arguing with somebody on there. Think about this is how reaction works. The person in front, they were arguing on the phone. Ran in the back of somebody else. Now the person gets out of the car after arguing with the person on the phone. The person that's in front of them that they hit is now arguing with them about why they were on the phone. Now the person on the phone, now this person is arguing with this other person. Now somebody else is riding by, not paying attention on their phone, and then running in the back of that person. Now this person runs and gets into a wreck because they weren't on their phone. What was the common factor? The phone. I give you a distraction. If you pay more attention to this than what you need to really pay. If you pay more attention to this than what you really need to pay attention to and working on, and this is even furthermore, if I give you something that can inherently make your life better or make it easier and more efficient, and you're not using it for its intended purpose, you're using it for its intended purpose, but not in its intended space. How do you think that shit gonna work? I've seen motherfuckers use motherfucking cell phone records and FBI cell phone records and look through people's records and text messages and phone calls and pictures and all that shit. But at the end of the fucking day, what did you do? Nothing but you got distracted. Whatever you were doing is now been off and derailed because somebody else is doing some other shit. And now you feel that you're owed an explanation. What the fuck you need the explanation for? They didn't did what they did. They did what they did. You've seen them do it. What they did doesn't matter. You got one or two decisions. Either you gonna ask for it, get the closure you need, and stay in the situation, or you gonna walk away and truly ask yourself, what was it that you did? Was I in balance? What imbalance in me did they come to within me? What imbalance in myself resonated with an imbalance that was within inside them? Think about that shit. I'm balanced as a motherfucker and humbly grow imbalance every single day. That's why I'm doing this Facts on Wednesday, to get more imbalance, because I know I need that for myself. So there's no imbalance in me, so I can see every situation clearly. I can see when something's not being dealt with. I'm humble. That's why the spirit worked with me so well, because I'm in balance. If I wasn't in balance, the spirit won't work with. The spirit will not work with me. I couldn't interface with the spirits the way I interface with the spirits. I couldn't do my work at the higher level. You feel me? Because I'd be out of balance. When someone else is out of balance, they're always going to try to pull you out of balance. Consciously or unconsciously, they're always going to be, their main factor is their factor in your quote, their factor or them being the common denominator in your life is to take you out of balance, to make you argue. You want to argue? I just want to make some money. You want to argue? Like how Fly said that shit. I just want to make some money. You want to argue? No. All I want to do is get this work. Put my work in. Build my shit. Learn the shit that I need to learn so I don't come back here with baby brain. That's all I want to do. Everything else is secondary. Everything that you do is going to be secondary to the work you put in. Everything you do is going to be secondary to the work that you put in. Naturally. So if you tapping into the wealth of the knowledge and you understand that you are wealthy and you are abundant because your soul is the most prized, is the fucking ultimate goal for them to receive, a piece of your soul, some of your energy, you learn how to fucking maintain that shit. If you know that it keeps you prosperous, that keeps you in abundance, you gonna want to keep that shit. If they're lacking it, they gonna want it from you. So why go around the old spaces? My whole mindset is, I've thought about that shit hard. I was like, why would I want to go back? Why am I trying to do something here? It's selfish and selfless at the same time. Now let's have a true understanding. And that was one of the biggest things that I take into going forward when I do certain things. It's like, I'm not going to do something if it is not fully beneficial to me. In the aspect of, it's going to do something for me that I see that I myself needing from it. I'm not going to put myself in a position that does not match my algorithm or my phase or my thought process. I can't do that. But yeah, we're going to keep getting deeper into this. I'm liking this one. Y'all all right out there? Hope y'all enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more God out there that talk from our sponsors. You feel like you got a voice, feel like you got something to say? Feel like you have something that can move the masses or get everybody tuned in and you want a bigger audience? Whether it can be anything from something like the God Hour or anything from like sports, news, fashion week, whatever it may be. Let me put you on to something. The easiest way to do it is with the Anchor app. Biggest thing about it is free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will even do all of the distribution for your podcast for you so it can be heard on many other platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money. You also can make money from your podcast with minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. It's everything you need to get your voice heard and get what you feel that's in your heart and enter to your heart out to the masses. If you're interested, download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. You ever I wanted to say this before we get this last piece in, get our last piece in for. But yeah, you ever been in that space and you sitting there vibing? And I always think about this when I think about the podcast itself. And I remember I was looking at a masterclass, the masterclass commercials. And I remember Timbaland said, you gotta feel it. You gotta feel it. It gotta charge. You gotta give you that certain rhythm. And then that made me think about healing. It really made me think about healing. And if you have any understanding about healing, that shit that's when you heal, it's the shit, it's not the healing that feels good. It's what you're letting off of your body that feels good. It's what you're letting go of that feels good. It no longer serves a purpose to you. It no longer is there. You letting that weight off. It's similar to when every woman changes out their hair after a relationship. Or when that brother decided to go get that extra crispy lineup after he got out of a relationship. It's that same thought process. But one thing that I think about with healing is, you have to make sure that when trying to heal somebody or trying to become that healer, I'm going to go further into that. First thing is, the healer does not heal you. The healer exposes you to elements inside of yourself that can help you and kickstart the healing process. So with that, when you're trying to heal somebody, you got to make sure that, are they willing to let go of what made them sick in the first place? Are they willing to let go of the things that got them so much attention? They get attention from being never doing right. They get attention from always being seen a certain way. Some people like to be seen a certain way. And then that goes to you is like, what are you digesting? Are you willing to digest the filth? Are you willing to digest what they're gonna spit up in the healing process? You know what I mean? This is an aspect that a lot of us get stuck in is we want to heal, we want to help, we want to make people better. But you have to realize that you got to be in a space of yourself has to be healed first. Remember, the last one we just talked about toxic is toxic. This one we don't get into that healing aspect. Healing yourself requires you to, remember we talked about the wounds. You're putting yourself in a different position, a different space. And if you're still in the space that's unhealed, you're still in the space that's you're still in that unclean environment. You haven't cleaned up your environment. Remember, your environment is your education. Your environment is what you learn from. So if you're not learning from your environment, what are you doing in it? Are you just playing it? Either you're learning from your environment or you're digesting the filth. And that's what we've gotten stuck in a lot of these aspects is we're so used to being in the filth. We just want to change up. We just want fresh. We want fresh mud and we want fresh dirt and we just want fresh sheets in the burning house. We just want fresh sheets and we just want fresh accommodations in the prison. So we don't have to see that it's a prison. We just want to see the good in life down here, the mundane shit in life, and celebrate that. And we're truly celebrating nothing. I tell people all the time, like, motherfuckers go to parties every single fucking week, and all they doing is celebrating it. What are they truly celebrating? Motherfuckers go to parties every single week. What are they even celebrating? What are you celebrating? What are you dealing with? What did you capitalize on? You feel me? Like, really, what have you been doing? You go around certain individuals and you've been around these people for years and you don't know why they don't get it. I'm trying to tell them this and I'm trying to tell them that. This is the one thing about the healing process. They have to come to you. You can't go to them. Just like similar to when you look at the doctor and the doctor performs a treatment, that's a good thing to learn from. When they go to the doctor, they don't go to get healed. They go to get a treatment. They're going to go get healed, what they think is healing, but they're only getting treated. So in reality, they're just getting tricked into think that they're getting healed when they're really just getting a band-aid on the treatment. So when you're going into these environments and going into these spaces inside of yourself, this is when your ego is naturally going to perform its grand trick. It doesn't matter what you do, your ego is always going to put you in a position to make you feel complacent. You did exactly what you need. Yep, you are the best ever. Your ego tell you that shit in the mirror. The ego tell a lot. Like, and I said this before, I used to say this shit about my job all the time. When I used to look at the queens, so they queens regardless, I used to look at the queens walking around in the kitchen, walking around the restaurant, or wherever I was at, I'd be like, they cannot have friends. I remember I would be standing on line next to one of my old heads. I was always around the old heads. I was always around the motherfuckers that were older. I was around the old heads. And I was like, yo, these motherfuckers don't have friends. These motherfuckers' homegirls are not their friends. And he said, what you mean? He said, what you mean, Los? I was like, did you see her hoodie? I don't think you're supposed to see the tress. I don't think you're supposed to be able to notice that the eyelashes aren't real. I don't think you're supposed to be able to tell that it isn't real. But then I would as the observer, looking at the conversation, like looking over there, I'd be like, they both fucked up. And they both looking at each other saying they both look good. But where's the interjection of telling them that shit don't look good? Who's going to tell them like, yo, you may need to do this? I remember a couple of times walking up to a couple of the chicks at my job and I would be like, just stand beside them, I'll whisper. So so they didn't get offended. I'll be like, yo, I love what you did. Your baby hairs is on fleek. Everything look real. Your baby hairs is on fleek and everything. But you got to take a little more time on that. I can see where you started on this one piece right here. And I'm no expert within this. So if I'm wrong, let me know. Always put it in their favor, because then he puts it in your favor. That's that tip. That is a divine masculine trait. That's when you mastered that's when you have took yourself to a certain level of mastery in your divine feminine. That's how you become divine masculine. How to become divine? When you coming down here, you coming to learn the other half of yourself. So when you take an aspect of learning the divine feminine and mastering certain aspects of the divine feminine, that's when you actually become the divine masculine. See how that works? That's how you become the divine. That's how the divine masculine come into play. Whenever you're in that space and you're developing this to yourself, that's how you become the divine masculine. See how that makes, like, that's how you become the divine masculine. But I was like, yo, you just do this. And I remember I said it one time. I said it to one of them one time at work. And the next day she came in, baby hairs was on fleek. You couldn't see that little piece in the middle. She had everything lined up just nice and neat. She had the hairs tucked in right. It looked good. And I walked back over there. Later on, like throughout the shift, I walked over, was like, yo, that's what I'm talking about right there. And she was smiling from it, and she really felt good. This is what you have to do when you're healing people. You have to understand that they're used to digesting at a certain rate or digesting certain things. So when you're taking them outside of this space, you got to be in balance to bring them in balance. You can't be at imbalance when you're trying to balance somebody else out. Because when you speak from an imbalanced state or an unhealed state, or the traumas are still present, those traumas show through how you speak. Them traumas show through how you move. Them traumas show. And that's what you're going to be seeing. Oh, I got some more healing to do. Because niggas argue. Gods don't argue. We have friendly debates. Gods cause chaos having debates with each other. I took one thing from an aspect. I was listening to somebody. He was like, he said something about the Tamils, white people. He was like, white people can have a whole entire fucking argument at work, wherever it may be. But when everything's said and done, they'll still go have a drink together. Black men and black women, black women have an argument with somebody and they won't talk to them for years, that they do some conniving shit. Black men to do the same shit. Even now, I'm not saying all people, but like some people have an argument and then be friends in like 15 seconds. That's because there's a balance within the divine feminine and divine masculine. If you approach something based upon, and this is a big shout out to my because it's crazy how this is just coming through, because this is I give a shout out to my forgot her name, a follower on Facebook, but she put that up and it was like I skimmed past it, I read it, I understood it, I imputed it, and it kept moving. And I think it was like a few weeks ago. But she, like, you have to see how you're embracing it. One thing that I did learn from school was there's 3 different battles. Man versus man versus environment, and man versus himself. Which one are you in? Man versus man could be perceived as the masculine versus the masculine aspect. Man versus his environment can be the masculine aspect battling the feminine aspect, or the masculine battling the masculine. It's masculine versus masculine. But then there's the feminine versus the feminine. The feminine versus the feminine in most cases can come to an understanding when there is a balance within the feminine and that feminine energy. Heal the unhealed. In a traumatic event or case, what you're thinking is healing is just putting a Band-Aid on a trauma. I said it to my school. But still, it ain't. There you are. Shut up. But when you're taking that thought process, when you're moving, you're healing yourself, you came down here to understand the feminine aspect. You came down here to learn how to nurture yourself. You came down here to, the knowledge that you gain, you learn how to cultivate it and making it, in knowledge applied is wisdom. So a healed person, when they gain new knowledge, they know that take it in, they can comprehend it and be open to it to take it in because they can use it to nurture themselves. Whether it serves them at that point or not, they can take that information in. Because it shows you one or two things. I put too many skills in my mouth at the same time. But it shows you one or two things. It shows you your ability to be open to acquire knowledge. And then it reinforces that knowledge is infinite. If you don't have an understanding that knowledge is infinite and that shit is many paths to one light, you'll find yourself following instead of studying. You'll find yourself following the argument. You'll find yourself following the crowd based upon the algorithm, based upon the conduits of not wanting to be the one that stands out. Not being the one that's outspoken. You get stuck in the polarity of the one versus the one that's in the crowd versus the one that's outspoken. But if they're still stuck both in the same space, the one that's stuck within the crowd, just because this person has become outspoken does not mean they've healed. Man, I'm always going against a bunch of people, man. I'm always the one standing up. I'm always the one saying what needs to be said. What truth does not need to be argued. I give that to the guy, C. Freeman L. That's where I learned that from. Watching a lot of C. Freeman L. lectures. The craziest thing about the C. Freeman L. lecture, the last one that I've watched, it was in March of 2003 when that one came out, when he did that lecture. It was either March or May. The craziest aspect about that lecture was 6 months prior, he had a stroke. 6 months prior, within that 6 months, that's when my father was becoming conscious. My father was like coming into his awakening. A month before that lecture came out, and this is how you start putting shit together and digesting. But a month before that lecture came out, my pops passed in March 13th, 2003. Transition to 2003. I remember he gave me the speech about me being a king. I've always been a king. You came in here as a king. He was giving me the knowledge that he had got before he was during his transition after the accident, after he got shot. And he was talking to me, giving me that conversation. He was giving me that knowledge. I didn't know what it was then. He was like, you came in this world a king. You came here with a higher purpose. You learning how to be a god. I remember when he told me that. I remember later on down the line, my uncle gave me the unk that he wanted to give me. He gave me the same uncle that gave me my father's rosaries when he passed, when he transitioned, was the same uncle that gave me his unk before he had passed. So it was a transitioning effect. I never carried the rosaries. I was very much around this time, I was very much coming out and not really connected to a lot of religion anyway. I was already questioning it. So I wasn't holding the rosaries in the aspect I remember I just kept, I bought like gangs of fucking rosaries. This was before everybody started wearing rosaries. And it was even harder coming from Harlem because this is around the same time that Jim Jones and Dipset came out. And these motherfuckers got skull rosaries and shit and skull belts and shit. So I'm coming down here during the summer, coming down here to start living and whatever, coming down, back down south to come live and shit. And motherfuckers always asking me the question, nigga, do you know Jim Jones? Like, no, nigga, I don't know Jim Jones. But anyway, say that to say this. That was the transition. I was holding on to these pieces, but I didn't know why I was holding on to the pieces. I wasn't holding on to the pieces for the historic. I wasn't holding on to the piece. I was holding on to the piece for the historical purposing of the piece. I'm gonna break that down. Until I healed from the trauma of that transition and the transitions that were happening left and right after that, I was holding on to these pieces because I was afraid that if I let go, I would have nothing. I was afraid that if I let go of these pieces, I would have nothing. Where would I be? Who would I be? I didn't have that confidence in myself. And that's the biggest part when it comes into this healing process. It's having that confidence to actually have to sit on your ass. It's about having that confidence that you're going to have to sit down a little bit. You have to sit down on your ass and sit down in that fucking dirt. Sit down in that mud. You got to sit down in that shit. Because that's the only way you're going to learn how to get clean. But don't overstay your stay. And that's a lot of things that be happening a lot of times when it comes to just any bond of relationship that we're in. We're trying to stay based upon saving the face that was built within that space. That's one of the biggest things that always happens. Like, we try to save our face based on that space being where we think that we need to be at. It's a very, very, very deep rooted issue that we go through. We try to stay within this space for a long period of time. We try to stay the best friend. We try to stay the best son. We try to stay the best daughter. We try to stay the best uncle, whatever it may be. Not realizing that in order for them to grow, the same negative that we saw, they're going to see. That's that repeat. That's the butterfly effect. That's that repeat of this. That's that string. The same trauma that you overcame, the trauma that you overcame is going to bring up a new trauma. And that's one of the things that we tend to try not to get out of. We try to stay in a certain space so we don't have to go back through the process of going through more traumas. Uncovering ourselves even more, making ourselves more vulnerable, making ourselves more vulnerable in the aspect that we think vulnerability is weak. We put ourselves in this mindset stuck on trying to prove ourselves to some shit when it really doesn't hold a balance or any type of standard or stance after a while. It's like, I got another polarity for you. You are good in your hood. You good in your hood. Everybody know you. You can walk through your hood. You can walk through your hood all good and you straight. Though you own nothing, or you might own the fish market or something in your hood or whatever, but you staying in your hood because you safe in your hood. On the other end, so you good in your hood. On the other end, you can't go into another hood because you might get knocked off. You might get slain. Good chance, the way everything's going down rapidly, you might get knocked off. You might get knocked off in your own hood. But we're using this for the sake of this discussion. You can't go to another hood. That's the same equivalent to You're good in your space, in your environment. But in order for you to grow, you have to suffer, you have to risk dying or that death of the human thought of the ignorance or that human thought that you are only meant to be in that space. On the other end of that polarity, that's like the politician coming into your neighborhood, coming into your church and telling you all these things that you want to hear, but never taking over airspace. Never telling the people that are around them the same shit. It just sounds good because they know it's at a certain level. They're at the same level as you. That's what they're at the same level as you. That's why they're able to say and do what they do. In a more reality, more broad spectrum, the reason that they're able to keep you held down is not because they're over you, it's because they're below you. Nothing below you, nothing above you in natural succession can hold you down. Except for the thing that is there. That's you. As above, so below. Correspondence. The only thing that can hold me down is my own thoughts. The mind is all. The universe is mental. The only thing that can hold me down is my own thoughts. The only thing that can hold me down is my own lack of discipline. Because what's going to pull me down as it matriculates, as it goes below? My urges. Streaming from my root chakra based on survival. My confidence or my arrogance based upon my sacral chakra. The sense of power or the lack of power I have based upon my solar plexus. And all that weighs on my heart and holds me down. It affects my flow. It affects my rhythm. It affects the rhythm that I'm supposed to be on. That's what you're battling. You're battling that rhythm. And it's based upon what you're digesting, what you're taking in, what you're accepting. And you're accepting it under the guise, and this is what they've done. This is the overshadow. They're making your issue just another issue mixed in with someone else's issue. I saw a sign yesterday on my Instagram. And it said, Pride lives wouldn't matter, wouldn't exist without Black Lives Matter. Pride wouldn't exist if Black lives didn't matter. Because in the reality, they're bonded together. They're trying to put you into this synonymous boat with another movement just to make you another movement. Civil rights all over again. Because all they can do is reenact the same light that they've been working with for years, for decades. They created this shit based on a lower level of light that you left down here. You left all that shit down here. You gave all that shit up. You've been here so long, you went through all the cycles, and that shit, all the shit that you're seeing now are the physical remnants of stuff that you've already done. So I give you this aspect right here. Is it the knowledge or the invention that's more important? Is it the knowledge or the credit for the invention? Because you can't reapply the invention. You simply can just put new paint on it and make it look different. But you can reapply that knowledge. You can reapply those formulas. You can change those formulas around and change them out. That's what they do, based on an intellectual standpoint. They don't have the necessary factor, the melanin, the soul, the divine spark, to pull down anything else. You notice how I said pull down anything else? You have the power to pull shit down. You've always had the power to pull shit down. You've always had the shot. You always had the power to pull yourself up. I gotta pull myself up. How long you gonna pull yourself up before you realize you just doing pull-ups? How long you gonna keep pulling yourself up before you realize you just doing reps and pull-ups? That's why you tired. You tired because you basically been doing pull-ups the entire time. You stand there at the corner and you pull yourself up, look up there, and you go back down. Because you're not seeing what you need to see. Because you haven't created it yet. You're not going to see anything at this level of evolution because this level is set to devolve. It's only meant for you to learn from it. Apply the information, prepare your own world, prepare your own space, prepare your own heaven. All my shit's prepared in my mind. I've already created my spaces. I've already created my spaces that trump out through all of the spaces within my mind, all the levels that are in my mind. So by nature, since I'm in tune with everything's in line in my mind, all I gotta do is sit back, keep learning, and watch the shit fall. Watch the shit fall into place. I watch my energy. I watch who's around me. I mind what I put in my system. I mind what I digest. I mind my healing. I tend to me. I put in my own work. And with that, that's how your soul tribe come into play. That's how your soul tribe comes into play. That's how your soul tribe light up. Cause you can't find your soul tribe if you still stuck in the old algorithms. And that's a testament I can fucking attest to. I've met people that are on in accordance with me and above me and challenge me in their ways. That's your talent, finding talent. Can I break that down in that lecture? Your talent, cultivating your talent through your purposes leads you to be able to connect to other talents and build your talent. Stay tuned for the plug talk. We're going to get that later in the closeout.
You know, of course, we had to keep you plugged in. Let that beat drop. Of course, we had to leave you plugged in. GodaCoAlchemistLLC.com. You can know that is a place for the services, including guided meditation, spiritual life coaching, and counseling. All counseling is confidential because the most important is your confidentiality and being able to have that space to speak out and speak and get those things, those traumas and triggers out to the surface so you can be the best you. Natal chart analysis, readings, so much more. The blog spot, all of that is on GodaCoAlchemistLLC.com. More to come, videos and all that good stuff. Bookings. You can still, if you have inquiries about booking for speaking engagements, bookings for interviews to be on the show, drop it in setcallonneeds@gmail.com. To get your products online, to get on this platform to get heard. This is nothing but building over there. My man Kevin Seymour, the Shroom Advisor. Check out ShroomAdvisors.com for your spiritual enhancing and awakening needs. Shrooms, DMT, got a lot of stuff coming there. You got his clothing line popping on there. Follow him on Facebook at Kevin Seymour. Follow my IG is at Fatima the Chakras. Or something like my man Put Baby on the Beat, Toonie Walker Jr. Follow him on Facebook. Put Baby on the Beat. Follow his on SoundCloud. Follow him on YouTube. It's a whole vibe with those. It's a whole vibe with the music. He actually is one of the inspirations behind me actually putting together music. When I put together the music for my when I started putting together music for the podcast, and I remember he came in, he was watching one of my lectures, and then we linked up on Facebook, and then ever since it's been building that vibe. That's like this is how you find your soul tribe. But yeah. For all other questions, things you want to put out there, you want to add space on my app that I'm developing, papalucy666.com, papalucy666@gmail.com. Drop it in there, or you can hit me at the number 910-777-7708, and we can set up a reading consultation. I keep speaking that, I stand by that $90 for that hour. It's going to be the best conversation of your life. I can guarantee it, based upon your intentions on wanting to grow. Yeah. Gotico Alchemist is a YouTube channel. Every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we go deeper and expound deeper into these topics of discussion. So tune in for that. Papa Lucy Sunday service will be returning this week. We'll be returning Papa Lucy Sunday service back on Facebook Live this week. 7:45 a.m. Stay plugged in. Monday through Thursday, we do meditate and elevate. Cause we gotta be past what is sane and be at least a quarter past crazy to get to that next level. But yeah, I'm just feeling good right now. Like that, like that drum pattern. But yeah, stay tuned for the closeout. I love y'all. Appreciate the support. Ashe. Oh yeah, Lucifer Somni is the cash. Lucifer Somni is the cash app. I forgot to add that. But yeah, stay tuned for the closeout. Ashe.
When it's fire, you got to keep going with it. But yeah, heard all the new things in the plug talk. We're doing a lot of things. But I spark up my medicine. I was laughing because the other day I was watching the BLB podcast, and almost every episode it's like, this is not state run radio. We do what we want here. And that's the aspect, that's the mindset that you got to be in. You got to be literally in that mind state that you're not here for what's here. That's the mindset you got to be in. You're not here to be here. You're here to learn. You're not here to build anything in a primary fashion. You're here to build your mind back up. You're here to get back to your true self. And in doing that, since I don't think it's coincidence, since doing that, everything that needs to happen down here aligns into place, but you got to put in the work first. That's the biggest aspect, that you getting into this anti what matters. It's about putting in your work. It's about putting in that grind. The same way that you will sit there and work over 40 hours for some overtime, or you'll put in all that work and all that hard work and dedication into things outside of you, that at the end of the day, if one thing goes wrong and one thing goes off the fucking hinge, it's just over with. The biggest thing that one of the things that I took away from Panic's lecture that he dropped, Black Magic Matters, is when he said they showed you in 2 weeks that they can shut all this shit off. You got to put yourself in a position where you can't get shut down. One of my mentors always told me, you got to be putting yourself in a position where no one can say no to you. You got to come to the table that even when they say no to you, it's not based on anything that you did. I'm in a position where no one can say no to me based on something that I've done. And I'm steady growing in that. I don't argue back and forth. And that's the mindset you need to carry as you're moving forward. Stop. You have to put in that work. You have to see this shit through. This ain't like your past life. The reason that you got stuck in what you got stuck in the first time, because you could not work, you did not see your shit through. And then on the other end of that, if you did everything that you had to do and you still didn't get what you wanted, think about it like this. Maybe it wasn't what you were supposed to get. Maybe it was just a lesson. If you go in only diving in for the lesson and the learning, You have nothing to be upset about. If you go in for the lesson to learn, to become better, you never lose. You always win. Bounce to the beat real quick. You always win. Stop allowing things to stop you from standing on your square. Stop allowing things to stop you from getting that knowledge. Stop allowing things to stop you from getting what it is that you need to get from where you need to get it from. Never allow anything to take you away from the main goal, to learn, to put in work, to shut shit down. Never let anything get in your way of that shit. Because when you do that, all you do is allow those old thought forms to take reform themselves. All you do is add on to what you're saying that you're going against, what you're fighting against, the narrative, the oppression, the not having what you need to have, not having what you desire. Take that information, prepare your shit. I know exactly where I'm going when I'm done. I done met my soul tribe, so now I get to actually enjoy rocking with my soul tribe, moving with the Titan Mafias. That's the aspect that you're coming into. Everything's going to be exactly where you need it to be at when you get there. So what are you waiting for? Trust the process. You trust yourself? Trust the process like you trust yourself. I just want you to be great. That's it. I'll see you all same time, same day, because only one day matters, and that's 2 days. 2 days is the only day that matters, because every day after this is simply a reflection. The only person that matters is that star player, the one that you got to get aligned with in the mirror. Wherever you at right now, be the best at it. And if you ain't the best at it, wherever you at, be the best at it. Even if you hate it, that means you just don't understand it. You're trying to use it outside of its purpose. The purpose is to learn. The purpose is to grow. The purpose is to be cultivated. Because the passion, the abundance, that prosperity, that wealth you're looking for, it's in that work. I love y'all. We love us. Thank you for choosing another episode of the God Album. Peace. Ashe.